Welcome to the Family Holiday Destinations podcast, where we explore the destinations, trends, and ideas shaping modern family travel. I'm Jessica Palmer, mother of two and founder of Family Holiday Destinations. Today, we're exploring one of Japan's most underrated destinations. While Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka continue to top the list for Australian families, there's another side of Japan that's quietly capturing the attention of travellers looking for something a little different. Okinawa is often described as the Hawaii of Japan, but as you'll hear today, it's so much more than just beautiful beaches. I'll be chatting with Toni from LinkedIn Tourism about what makes Okinawa unique, why it feels surprisingly familiar for Australians who love destinations like Fiji or Bali, and why it could be the perfect addition to your next Japan itinerary. Before we dive into that conversation, let's take a look at some of the biggest family travel stories making headlines this month. One of the biggest stories I covered recently on Family Holiday Destinations was the release of Big Red Group's first experience edit report. The report looked at almost 200,000 bookings across Red Balloon, Experience Oz and Adrenaline between January and May 2026, and it found that Australians are becoming much more intentional about how they travel. Rather than simply booking the cheapest getaway or ticking off another destination, families are increasingly looking for experiences that help them reconnect, recharge, and create meaningful memories together. One of the standout trends from the report was what Big Red Group calls Sea-Tox travel. This is all about Australians turning to the ocean as a way to slow down and reset. Reef and island cruises, scenic cruises, and jet boat experiences have all seen growth. And the trend is particularly relevant for families who want a simple way to switch off and spend quality time together. I think this is such an interesting trend because it speaks to something many families are feeling at the moment. Travel is no longer just about where you go, it's about how a place makes you feel. And that actually ties in beautifully with today's episode because Okinawa is very much a destination where families are encouraged to slow down, spend time by the water, enjoy the outdoors, and travel at a more relaxed pace. Another story I covered this month was Australia being named among the world's top 20 theme park destinations for 2026. The ranking, released by Travel and Tour World, placed Australia at number 20 globally for amusement park tourism, alongside major destinations such as the United States, Japan, France, and Singapore. For families, I think the interesting part of this story is not just the ranking itself, but what it says about the way people are now planning holidays. Theme parks and major attractions are increasingly becoming the reason families travel, not just something they do once they arrive. Whether it's the Gold Coast theme parks, Tokyo Disney Resort, Universal Studios Japan, or Sentosa in Singapore, attractions are playing a much bigger role in how families choose destinations. And again, it points to the same broader trend. Families are looking for trips built around memorable shared experiences. The third story I wanted to mention this month is around travel loyalty. Marriott Bonvoy released its Loyalty Trends Report 2026. And one of the key findings was that loyalty is no longer just about earning points. Across Asia Pacific, travelers are increasingly engaging with loyalty programs based on their passions and the reason they travel in the first place. Food, wellness, culture, shopping, and nature are all becoming major drivers of travel behaviour. For Australian travellers, the report found that practical value still matters. Things like upgrades, direct booking benefits, visible savings, and useful perks remain important. But the bigger takeaway is that travel brands are having to understand why people travel, not just where they're traveling. And for families, I think that's especially true. A family holiday might be about reconnecting, relaxing, learning something new, having an adventure together, or simply finding somewhere that works for everyone. That brings us perfectly to today's conversation because Okinawa really does sit across many of those travel motivations: culture, food, wellness, nature, beaches, and family connection. So let's get into today's interview. I recently sat down with Toni from Linked Tourism to talk all things Okinawa. We chatted about why Okinawa is often called the Hawaii of Japan, how island hopping works, what makes it so different from mainland Japan, and why it could be such a good fit for Australian families who love tropical holidays but want to experience Japan in a completely different way. Toni also shares some fantastic practical tips around getting there, getting around, hiring a car, family friendly experiences, and why Okinawa works so well for both first time visitors to Japan and families who have already done the big city. Here's my chat with Toni from Linked Tourism. So today we're chatting with Toni from Linked Tourism, who is an expert on Okinawa, to unpack why Okinawa might just be the perfect bridge between an island holiday and a Japan adventure for families. Hello, Toni. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today.
Excellent. So for families who haven't heard much about Okinawa, how would you describe it in a nutshell?
Well, it's exactly what you've just said. It's Japan's subtropical island paradise. So think turquoise water, white sandy beaches, warm weather almost year round, but also layered with that Japanese hospitality and a really unique local culture.
Oh, excellent. So Okinawa is often described as the Hawaii of Japan. How accurate is that?
It's actually really accurate. And it's not just because of the beaches. So there's a lot of the parallels in the climate. So they're both warm, that subtropical destination, but it's also in the cultural history as well. So just like it was Hawaiian kingdom, Okinawa was once the Ryukyu kingdom, which was completely separate from mainland Japan. So this kind of translates into all of the food, the music, the traditions, the architecture. It's all slightly different, but with flavors of Japan. So so coming back to it, yes, it looks like Hawaii, but Okinawa has its own cultural identity, which makes it feel like you're discovering something really different and special.
Does that mean you can buy, you know how you can get Hawaiian shirts? Does Okinawa have its own version?
Um, Actually, yes. I don't have anything with me, well, on a podcast that I can show, but Okinawa is known for those bright, beautiful, colorful patterns. So with mainland Japan, you'll see that a lot of the style is kind of very earthy, traditional wood colors that you see in architecture, in the clothing that people wear. But in Okinawa, it's actually completely different. It's very loud, very vibrant. They like their bright colors. They like their floral motifs as well. And so if you see art that originates from Okinawa, you'll actually think, oh, wow, this is actually closer to more Pacific Island style than it is to the rest of Japan.
Beautiful. So in line with Pacific Islands where you can island hop, how does Okinawa's island hopping experiences work and why is it such a great fit for families?
So island hopping is actually where Okinawa really shines. Okinawa is made up of over 150 islands, so the options are very, very incredible. So for families, it's quite flexible depending on how adventurous the family is and potentially with the age of the kids as well. So for an easy experience from the Okinawa main island, you can actually go to a few islands by driving. So there's, for example, the Kori Island, which is just a little bit north of the Okinawa main island. It's connected by a really beautiful long bridge drive, and all of that area are beautiful, shallow, calm beaches. Also up there is another island called Sesoko Island, which is like a quiet beach destination. And they're only about an hour drive from Naha, which is the capital of Okinawa.
Japan drives on the left side as well, doesn't it? So it's not too much of a stretch for Australian families.
Exactly. Japan, they drive on the left side. All of their road signs have English on it as well. So as long as you know the name of your destination, it's very easy to get to.
Excellent.
But we also have kind of more mid-range and longer island hopping adventures depending on what people are looking for. So, for example, once again, still from the Okinawa main island, there are islands like the Kurama Islands, which are a short ferry ride about an hour from Naha. And these are places like Tokashiki and Zamami, which are really well known for snorkeling. So think like sea turtles and coral reefs. But for those who are looking for slightly more adventurous, in-depth, deep dive into the rainforests of the islands, you could potentially fly out to the Yaeyama Islands, which includes places like Ishigaki, which is kind of where a lot of the resorts are. So it could be a base of operations, and then you could potentially visit other places like Taketomi or Iriomote Islands, which are those, in-depth wild jungles, or also the places where that really cultural UQ experiences can be found.
Yeah. So definitely, given Australians' love affair with Fiji, it's definitely like a way of traveling that we're used to, is to island hop and base yourself on a main island. It sounds amazing. But how does Okinawa differ from mainland Japan in terms of culture and overall experience?
Honestly, it's almost like visiting a different country. I would say the biggest difference is the pace. Everything in Okinawa is slower and a little bit more relaxed. So in the mainland of Japan, families might actually feel like they're rushing between a few different attractions, a few different cities.
Yes.
But in Okinawa, we don't recommend that. We're telling people to slow down, think of things that they want to see, but not necessarily things they have to see. So that if you find a place, if they're taking their time on a beautiful beach and they've stopped in just at the right time for a sunset or things like that, take it easy. Have a stop in a local cafe, see the attractions, rather than saying we have to be here by a certain time to get moving.
More relaxing, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what type of families does Okinawa suit best? And do you think it's a good option for a first-time Japan trip with kids?
Honestly, I feel like everyone. Okinawa is suited for every family. It's definitely fantastic for first-time visitors because it's so easy and relaxed, and definitely family-friendly. I think for families, it's really almost like traveling in domestic Australia, because there's that variety of things that you can definitely do for every age. So there are hands-on activities, beaches, interactive cultural activities for younger kids. And then for the slightly older kids and teens, there are those more active things like snorkeling, kayaking through beautiful rainforests and mangroves, really cool cultural experiences like the Asa drumming, which is like a high energy Japanese drum activity that is suitable for everybody. For the parents, there's really good resorts where they can relax, but also various types of accommodation depending on what the family's needs are. But also there's that really great fresh Japanese Okinawa food that's on offer. And a lot of Australians really love Japanese food. I think that's one of the main reasons people really enjoy going back to Japan. And that's something that's really great for as well.
Am I correct in that English is quite widely spoken in Okinawa because of the American presence, like the previous American presence?
Yes, you're definitely correct. It's not everywhere, but I would
Yes.
say in most places, the English in Okinawa might actually be better than some other places in Japan, like you say, because of that American influence.
Yeah.
I would say most places that any visitor would find themselves would probably not have any issues with English.
Oh, excellent. So beyond the beaches, what are some standout experiences that families shouldn't miss in Okinawa?
There's so much that I want to highlight, but here's just a few that I think would be of interest to your listeners. So the first one is the Chura Umi Aquarium. This is kind of midway in the middle of the Okinawa main island. The reason why I think this one is a good one is because it's actually one of the best aquariums in the world that focuses on research and conservation. So they're not just an aquarium, they really focus on researching local sea life and how
Yeah.
to make the best, I guess, situation for educating the next generation of people who are coming through and learning about the local sea life. And I think aquariums should be more than just a place to see the fish. It should be a great
Yes.
opportunity to really learn to see and see how, humans and the ocean can interact together.
Absolutely. And it's always good for parents to be able to sneak some learning in too, because, that's the kind of learning you can't do in school. So
Definitely.
that's great to hear.
A few other highlights I want to showcase for people to do whilst they're in Okinawa. So cultural experiences, I think, are really one of the great experiences that people can have in Japan and Okinawa specifically. So the Asa style of performance and drumming in Okinawa is unique only to Okinawa. And those are things that families, when they visit Okinawa, I feel like they really should experience this because it's something that you really can't experience anything anywhere else. And also it's something that's quite immersive. So getting people to put on the costumes, have a dance, try some drumming, it's just a really great way for people to connect with the local culture. So I think that is probably also a really must do in my book.
So how easy is it to get to and around Okinawa with kids, like compared to mainland Japan?
So Okinawa is very straightforward. One thing I do have to say is that unlike mainland Japan, there are no trains in Okinawa. So getting to Okinawa usually involves either flying domestically in Japan from places like Tokyo or Osaka,
Yep.
or even other Asian hubs like Singapore and Hong Kong. But
Okay, excellent.
yeah, so it's very, very well connected. But once you're in Okinawa, I would actually recommend people rent a car because rather than staying in cities, Okinawa is about exploring the more regional parts. And so if you can rent a car, obviously that's easier for managing families. You don't have to buy 4 or 5 train tickets and, meet a certain timetable. And it means that your family can actually, travel at the pace that suits them best.
Yeah.
And then for some of the smaller islands like Ishigaki and Iriomote, for example, you don't even need a car. A lot of it is either walking distances or a lot of them you can access by biking. A lot of
amazing.
it's all kind of just a really great, easily accessible destination.
Absolutely. So Okinawa is known as a blue zone. How does that translate into the travel experience for families?
So blue zones I find personally really interesting because I actually never heard of what a blue zone was until I found out about Okinawa.
Yep.
And I guess the idea that people who live in these areas live longer and healthier lives is really fascinating, but it makes perfect sense for Okinawa because their lifestyle there is just so, I guess, focused on being in the moment. So they're all about, slow living, good fresh produce and also really being in destination. So they really, really value the local area, the local outdoors, and that's why so much of Okinawa is about conserving what is there. They really focus on protecting the rainforests, the beaches, the waters. And so they are very connected to where they are. And when people visit, you kind of step into that lifestyle. You can't have a fast-paced, like intense visit to Okinawa. That's not really possible. And everything that you eat will be really fresh, locally sourced produce. And being in Okinawa forces you to be active. Like you're going to be doing the hikes, you're going to be taking those interesting adventures through, beautiful jungles and things like that. So it just really makes you value the destination, I think.
Absolutely. It sounds like a good opportunity for families to learn how to incorporate more wellness into their lives.
Yeah.
Are you seeing growing interest from Australian families? And why do you think Okinawa is gaining attention now?
We're definitely seeing more interest. I would say this would probably have something to do with the fact that obviously Japan is hugely popular at the moment.
Japan is having a moment at the moment, isn't it?
Very popular. But I think people are also looking for something that's slightly less crowded and slightly newer, or something a little bit unknown to the rest of Japan. Obviously, Japan, with all of its prefectures, every destination is different.
Yes.
But Okinawa really stands apart because I think just that extra hurdle of having to take that one extra flight to Okinawa means that there's just going to be less people to begin with. And also, it's just really culturally different. I've had people tell me that they think Okinawa is more like, some of those other Pacific islands like Samoa or Hawaii than Japan, because it's just so different. And so I think this really makes it an interesting opportunity for people to try something different.
Yeah. Well, one of the hottest travel trends is that families are now looking for experiences rather than just the usual places to go. So that's really in line with that.
Mm-hmm.
So if a family loves places like Fiji or Bali, but is curious about Japan, why should Okinawa be their next trip?
I would say Okinawa is a really good next option for people who love Fiji and Bali, because it gives you that same tropical holiday feeling, but also adds a few extra elements to it. So, for example, there's that Japanese level of safety and hospitality that really is unique to the country. There's that really great cultural experience. So, like I said, the Ryukyu culture is really fascinating. It's a completely different food scene to Bali and Fiji. The food in Okinawa has a bit of Chinese cultural influence, a bit of Korean cultural influence, a bit of Japanese cultural influence. So it's a really great smorgasbord of local foods. But also, like we've said before, I think Okinawa is still an emerging destination. And so that sense of it's the next step to go. It's the next place you can visit that, not many people have experienced. And so you can consider yourself almost like a pioneer. It's a really good opportunity for people to visit Okinawa before everybody else catches on.
I think it's amazing that you don't have to give up your, the notion of a beach holiday, but you still get to experience Japan.
Exactly.
I think that's such a beautiful concept.
Exactly. And I think it's a really good opportunity for people who, if they want a nice long holiday, but they don't want to be just stuck in one style of travel. So you could potentially do a week in Okinawa before or after a week in mainland Japan, so that at the end, so that you've done the hustle and bustle, you've done the bullet trains, you've seen all of those big cities, but now you want to take a few days, a week to relax, get the family together and just sort of chill out and kind of, really brainstorm. It's like, how was our holiday whilst you're still on holiday?
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, good luck getting your kids.
I loved that conversation with Toni, and I think one of the strongest takeaways is that Okinawa gives families permission to experience Japan differently. So often, when we think of Japan with kids, we think of big cities, bullet trains, theme parks, temples, shopping streets, and packed itineraries. And while all of that can be amazing, Okinawa offers something much slower. It's still Japan, but with beaches, island hopping, coral reefs, local culture, fresh food, relaxed days, and a completely different pace. I also love Tony's point that Okinawa can almost feel like visiting another country. That really stuck with me because I think it helps explain why this destination could be such a good fit for Australian families. It feels familiar in some ways, especially if you love island holidays, but it also offers something entirely new. For this month's travel tip, I wanted to build on that idea. If you're planning a family trip to Japan, don't feel like you need to experience the whole country in one style of holiday. A lot of families try to fit Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka theme parks, temples, shopping, food, day trips, and transport days into one very full itinerary. And while that can be exciting, it can also be exhausting, especially with kids. Instead, think about combining two different styles of travel in the one trip. You might spend a week in mainland Japan doing the big ticket experiences like Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, or the theme parks, but then add a few days somewhere slower, like Okinawa. That way, your family gets the excitement and culture of mainland Japan, but also time to rest, swim, island hop, and reconnect before heading home. Sometimes the best family itineraries aren't about seeing more, they're about creating a better balance. And Okinawa is a really good reminder that Japan doesn't have to be fast-paced from start to finish. So that wraps up our chat about why Okinawa might just be Japan's best kept family holiday secret. A huge thank you to Toni from Linked Tourism for joining me and sharing her insights into this fascinating destination. For more family travel inspiration, destination guides, and the latest travel industry news and trends, head on over to the Family Holiday Destinations website at familyholidaydestinations.com. And until next time, happy travels and enjoy making those family memories.